I think I don't have a spanner or a socket big enough for this. It's up to 36, which is 1.5 inches. This one is bigger than anything. But this arm is on a master spline, so you can't put it on the wrong place. I see it's marked there and there. It was taken off before, so someone was marking to make sure it went back to the same place. But to be honest with you, you can't put it back into the wrong place. There's a big massive spring washer behind it, so it doesn't have to be savage tight because the spring washer will stop it. So now our free play is gone out of the box, basically. Whereas before you had to turn the steering wheel a good bit to get any movement in it. So I'm happy with that. We didn't break any locks, of course, because everything was nicely protected. So steering box bearings, that's how I adjust them anyway. And I think now what else I could do. Next job, I suppose I could start taking off the brake rod and this footboard here, because I'll be taking out brake shafts and all the wheels both sides and the half shafts. Or I could get this track rod end off, and what I'm going to do this time, instead of going cutting that with a hacksaw, is I'm going to remove that off there, and I'm going to remove that off in there. Again, it's on a master spline, so at least I can tap them out then. It's well worn, and that's well worn as well. Okay, so our oil is all drained out of the gearbox in the back end, so that's great. So another job I can do is start giving in this housing here a bit of a clean out, because that's where our O-ring is going to have to seal. So plenty on the agenda, plenty done, plenty more to do. So I'll take off this lad here, so I have this starting to loosen there. So you loosen out the nut a bit, tap it through, loosen it out another bit, same crack, tap it through. And then what I find the best thing to do then is just get a punch. Should use the end of this. Just tap it through. Try not to damage the threads, but I have a die for that if I do. That's perfect. That would benefit maybe from a shot blasting, I think, to reuse him. So just fire up the shot blaster and give him a dart. Give him a bit of a clean. So we've our shot blasted bolt there. Just a quick clean of it, that's all. Just it's fairly grubby. So I've tapped in the chisel in here, Now again, as I mentioned before, stand well out of the way. Don't point it at yourself, point it at the man next to you. So you get away scot-free. These things can fly out. They're all going well. That'll come up. At least this way now, if I'm having problems getting this track rod end off, I have a better chance of being able to tap it out that way. So a bit of a twist. Oh, just at the end, the shot, not too bad. And the next part I'm going to take off. This is going about things differently. Is this nut there? So we'll go and get the big adjustable spanner for that. Now, this is way too loose as well. So I don't know whether I've made a whole lot of difference to free play in steering. I don't know, but I know it definitely should be tighter than that. So what I'll do with that spring washer is I'll put it in the vise and I'll give it a dun to the hammer, and actually I'll open it a bit, and what it'll do is it'll make it springier. It means whenever I tighten it, it'll most likely stay at that tension. It won't start loosening. So hopefully this will pull off easy. That's okay. There we go. And now we have our part off. So put that into the vise now and tap out the track rod ends. What I also did there was label the one that I already took off as or for right. These are aftermarket because they're 19mm metric. That's coming off handy enough. Just want to get the steering wheel off that. So screw it back down a bit and we'll give it a tap of a hammer. Hopefully it will go down through it. Just nearly flush if possible. These are awkward to hold in the vise because of the shape of them. Yeah, he's fairly well stuck. Might have to leave it soaking. Mind you, heat. I can bring it in and get a bit of heat on it. I have to get it to widen a bit. But, she is fairly pig ignorant. I hate baking things too much. You know, sometimes it's the only way you're going to get them off. There we go. Now, hopefully, the nut will come off. Turning on the inside, is it? Probably. Feels like it is. Turn them with it. So this is the issue when you go baiting, then it wants to come off. As you can see, it's just a little bit. Might hit it with the file. Like, if I'm lucky enough now, it might come off. It's just, this is after just widening a slight little bit. Or I could try and wedge something in under there to try and keep pressure on it. It might just come off. So I might try that with a pry bar, because those track rod ends, they're for the bin, like they are very badly worn, so I'm not trying to keep them. Some way now, just prying downwards maybe, just to get that nut off. these are on a cone shape, and when you loosen, when you get it pushed up out of the cone shape, it's just going to turn in there. So it's taking a fair amount of pressure on the grow bar, but it's coming. This is why so many of these end up getting cut off. Now, here we are. We've won it. So now I can fit this arm back on the tractor, because we won't have a problem putting it back on. So I'll show you the cone shape that's on it. I don't know, is that, yeah, there's a cone shape on it there, and when you tighten it, it pulls that cone shape down into the steering arm. So when I was tapping it at the top, what was happening was it was getting it off that cone shape down to where it's narrower, and that's why it was spinning, because it's able to turn. It's able to turn in there, so that's why they're just that little bit awkward. So the next job I can do then is take off this, try and get the track rod end out of it. So on this arm, there's a master spline. It's a wider one. You can see it just in around there, I think. And that matches up with the master spline there. So you can't actually put them on wrong. So you just literally line them up, give it a wiggle, and it'll only go on one way. What I was going to do with this was put it in the vise and tap it here and open it, but that's more than good enough of a spring wash. The spring in the washer, it's just that it wasn't tight, that's all. So we'll give that a good tightening up. The amount of material in this, considering the little wheels it has to turn, is unbelievable. Weight of that arm, quality of cast, and the size of this nut really is over engineered now for just touching a 40 horsepower tractor like. So yeah, I'm going to screw him home and might have a go at one of them track rod ends. Same story here, it's twisting, so to try and get something in there to pry against it. This is coming off lovely and easy. So sometimes you'll be lucky, and that's that off there. Again, there's much of a grease seal on that now, in fairness. So, and that is well and truly past its expiry date now. Shouldn't be able to wiggle them that easy. Anyway, that's what we're here for. So, I don't think I'll be using this steering arm. I have the other two there. I know this is painted, but it's just, it's fairly bent, and at least if I fit the other two, they're this matching pair, and I have the track rod ends off them anyway. So I think I'll leave that as is, and we'll move on when we get the reason why I want to leave it as it is that's the length that I can set the new one to for that side. Another thing here is when you're setting up your steering, you get the arm lined up with that stud there. You get the other one lined up with that stud there, and that is in the straight on position. And if you look at your steering wheel, then she's straight. That's basically what they say to do. Straight down, and then you can adjust all your rods. But at least because I have this rod as a reference, I'll literally be able to screw in my new track rod ends on the other one and put it to that length, and then I have my steering bang on straight. So that's great. It's ideal as well, because it means, I know in the Ferguson 20 you can skip, you can end up skipping a gear. This is the problem. This is a Ferguson 20 steering box, and what happens is if you keep turning the steering wheel with the steering arms off, it literally run off the end, literally run off, and then all of a sudden this is a tooth out. So it's important that you have inside in the box both of them exact same. They're both across from each other, so that is looking good here. I don't know, can these jump a tooth? There might be a worm gear, but I know in the Ferguson 20, even getting them to this point where they're both pointing at that stud on the foot peg, it can be a bit of a job. So that's brilliant. That's good news. I'm happy with that. So yes, I think I'm going to leave it there for this evening. I'm going to put up the videos on adjusting the bearings as a separate video, so that people can use it maybe going forward if it's any help to them for adjusting it up. A lot of the time you don't need any parts, just a little bit of time, a little bit of grease and a bit of patience. So I'm going to put that up separately, and I'll put this in the next part. So this will be probably part 9, even though the work is done on the same evening.